Hi everybody and welcome back to my studio. Today we're painting Positano. I'm so excited to show you guys how to paint this. We're working on a 12 by 16 stretched and primed canvas. I used acrylic gesso, white, 1 to 2 coats, let it dry. I'm coming in with my number 50 Filbert blending brush with phthalo blue and titanium white. I got my canvas a little bit wet first to start off with, as well as my brush, just to help that paint blend more smoothly and easily. So I'm going to apply the dark colors up here and then gradiate down to make it lighter into my mountains, and then I'll be incorporating a little bit of that cobalt blue or ultramarine blue. You can use either one, and don't forget to look in the list below the description of this video for all the colors and brushes I'm using today. Without washing my brush off, I'm going right into my cobalt blue, and I've got a little bit of phthalo and white in there, and I'm just going to create a little wavy line there for the mountain range, and just keep it really loose, you guys. Don't over detail anything. This is just about creating a beautiful romantic Italian scene, very impressionistic. We're going to save a little bit more of our detail for the lemons in the foreground. So I'm going to pick up a little bit of black, mix it in with my blue and white, and start adding a little bit of shadows here along the mountain and right on the coastline here where all of our beautiful colorful little houses are going to be. I'm going to add a little bit of that grayish color down on the bottom as well. Just very patchy and messy brush strokes, just for a bit of shadow before we add our leaves and our flowers and foliage. After washing my brush off, I'm going into, I've got my number 30 brush now. I've got my turquoise, a little bit of white, and I'm just going to start creating a gorgeous tropical watercolor here by using that turquoise and white, and then adding a little bit of my phthalo blue here and there. To create some reflections and shadows and highlights on the water, I'll be pulling down and flicking, and very lightly to do that, just so you get that mirrored kind of soft water look. So right here, I'll be doing that with a little bit of phthalo in my brush, as well as the turquoise and white. And remember, you guys can change up the colors however you like. You can make your water darker, lighter, more green, more blue. And depending on the light that's going on in your painting and the time of day it is, you can easily change that by changing up your colors and tones that you're using. So a few lines down and then across very lightly. And I'm just going to scumble in a little bit more of that phthalo blue and turquoise in my brush just down here on the bottom, and then from that bottom corner, pull and flick up and just get a blurry kind of blended look for now. I'm just after patchy colors, light and shadow at this point. And then what I want to do is take some white with a clean brush, same brush that I was using before, and I'm going to start to make some dreamy, wispy looking clouds tinted with my cobalt blue. So you can use a few different brushes for this. You can use a little mop brush if you like. You can use a smaller filbert, even a fan brush. So just kind of putting them on an angle, slightly diagonal. This will create a lot of mood in your paintings if you do this to your skies with your clouds. And then softly blending. So this is the next layer of our clouds. I'll be adding more. And then later on, I'll be coming in again after the paint is all dry and set into the canvas, and I know what the final color will be. I can then decide how much more white I want to add and how many more clouds I want to add. So these are just mid stages right now, guys. And I always encourage you to have a little fun when you're painting your clouds and your skies. This will really help you loosen up and not dread painting those clouds, because I know that you guys hate painting clouds, and especially if you're just beginning, you always tell me you just don't get it. The idea with clouds is less is more. So feel loose with your brush and your wrist and have fun, play it up, make them whimsical, add some flair to them and some flow, and you'll be really happy with the outcome. And then they won't look so tight and almost like you put a sticker on the canvas, right? You want them to be a little translucent in some areas and more white or bright in other areas. So you can see all the colors I've got here on my palette. I've got white, neon yellow warm, and neon pink, neon red, neon rose. I've got a neon orange, if I didn't say that already. These are all by Holbein, and I'll be sure to list them all below in the description. And I've also got green gold, cadmium yellow cool. I've got some sap green, so I'm going to be using all of these colors for the rest of the entire painting. What I'm doing is tinting my white with that neon yellow warm for the beach, just to give it a really beautiful sun-kissed glow to the sand and that shoreline. And I'm going to go ahead and add that to the sky as well. Rarely do I ever use straight white for anything. I talk about this every video just about because I've always gotten new viewers and new subscribers. So if you guys are just tuning in for the first time, it's really important to tint your whites and your blacks as well. So try not to use straight black or straight white ever unless you really, really, really want only a black and white painting. But even then, it's nice to have gray tones and mid-tones, like a grayscale painting. Okay, so now I'm just taking a little bit of my sap green with my phthalo. I'm going to change the hue up here a little bit. So just adding a little hint of that into the mountain, that will create a little bit of shadow and some more slopes here and there. It just gives us a little bit more shape to the mountain. So just a little bit there, just for fun and a little bit more color. So now I'm going to start coming in with, I've got a smaller Filbert brush I'll be using, and I'm also going to be using a flat brush. So I'll switch up from a flat to a Filbert. For now, I'm taking a bit of turquoise white and my cadmium yellow. I want to add a little bit more of a bright golden, bright green, turquoisey looking water right here, a few little flicks across, and brush strokes straight down. Again, just working on those highlights, right? And nothing too thick. You want to keep it very soft and transparent. Switched over to my flat brush. I'm going to take one of my neon colors. I'm going to start with my yellow warm, my neon yellow warm, and then add a little bit of neon orange. I'll be gradually working up to my pink. And all I'm after here is just little blocks of colors, little rectangles, little squares, lines across and down. This is far away, and all you're going to be seeing if you were looking out there is just a bunch of shapes of rectangles and squares. So I know a lot of you guys get intimidated with structures and buildings, especially if you're a beginner. This is the way to approach it. Just block in your little houses for now, just leaving some spaces in between, make them different widths and different heights. Of course, as they go down in towards the center of the canvas in this painting, it slopes down, so they're going to be smaller, and then we're going to come in kind of on the other side and start building them up just a little bit higher. But the highest point of the houses are going to be on the far left. For some highlights, I'm not using straight white. It may look like it, but I'm not. I'm going to be using, again, my neon yellow warm with my white. And then the colors I'll be adding are those beautiful Amalfi Coast, Positano, all those pastel tones. But I'm making my pastels with my Holbein neon colors because they make, in my opinion, the prettiest pastel colors. So pink and terracotta with a neon orange, that pale yellow. I've also got a little bit of neon red. I'm not going to use too much of that though. I'm just going to pretty much stick to both of my yellows and my orange and a little bit of pink. I'm going to be using my neon red and my neon rose for the flowers down below. And I'm just going to add little dots and dabs for the windows and doors and any dark part of these houses. That's all I'm going to be doing, and I'm not going to make them perfectly square. Everything is going to be kind of loose and blurry. I love that feel to a painting and art, so You guys, by all means, make your windows as straight and as perfect and as square as you want. But this is how I'm approaching my painting today. I prefer this look. So follow along or take it in your own direction. I'm just here to inspire you guys and guide you along and motivate you. So I'm just going to come in and add some more of my tinted white down below here. I'll be playing around with different flowers and the amount of detail or blurriness that I want down there in the bottom. But for now, I'm going to switch back over to my Filbert brush, sap green, green gold, bit of black, and just start pushing, tapping, dancing around with my brush, not thinking too much about it, just really being in the moment and turning my brush in all different directions to create the foliage. So we just want to work on some leaves here. In and amongst these leaves, we're going to have a few different colors. I think of my times in Italy, though I've never been to Positano, but I definitely follow some amazing YouTubers that live in Positano. And when I was in Italy, I know this is some common flowers that are there, very, very vibrant. Bougainvillea, I don't know how to pronounce it, sorry guys. And another one is geranium, but I think you guys know the flowers I'm talking about. They're neon colors, like they're so vivid and bright and absolutely beautiful. So I'll be adding my neon red and neon orange and neon rose. I'll also be adding just maybe a hint of the lemons coming down the edge and framing the left side of the canvas. And this is just one of those paintings that makes you feel like, and what I'm going for in this painting is that there's just a little balcony here or terrace, and we're sitting on it, maybe sipping some wine or limoncello, eating pasta, and just kind of, you know, that dinner time, beautiful time of day, looking out at the view. So someday I really hope that I can actually be sitting here and painting or actually living what I'm painting. That's on my bucket list. So I'm going to come in now with some of these bright colors. You can see I'm just scooping up. So I've got thick, heavy-bodied paint on the tip of my brush. Now, once this painting dries, it's going to have a texture to it. So this is what I really want. And by doing this, and I'm just going to take any color that I want here, play around again here down on the bottom right side. And I'm not doing any actual petals. I'm just making these impressionistic and kind of blobby looking. It's just about color and highlights. So by doing this and making the paint really thick here, it's going to make this look more in the foreground, and it's really going to set that scene, all those little houses in the water, in the distance. Later on, I will be making it look even more in the distance by adding a very thin, diluted coat of dry brush, I should say, of tinted white with that luminous neon yellow warm again. So I want you guys to paint the flowers that you want to paint. You don't have to paint the exact same ones that I do. It's up to you. I really think these warm, bright neon colors look gorgeous against that turquoise water, though. In my opinion, I think they really pop off the canvas, and it creates some excitement and that Italian flair and mood to this painting. I've got a small mop brush, and I'm just kind of blurring everything up, very softly dusting around the corners. I want this to feel kind of out of focus around the corners of the painting. And later on, you're going to see that I add just a little bit of the indication of maybe some wrought iron design, some little scroll work, just to make it a bit more whimsical and kind of add my twist on it. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to be working on is mixing up a dark color that's not black for the windows and doors on our little houses. So you can see there I picked some of my neon colors, either the orange or the red, a little bit of blue, maybe some sap green in there, and green gold, and just turning my brush sideways and using the end of my brush, pushing and tapping. And I'm going to do this for the first stages of my windows and doors. So I'm going to do this all over until I get to the far right side where we have those other little houses. You can turn your brush the other way as well. And if you don't feel comfortable using a flat brush, you can definitely use a liner brush or a small round brush as well. And I think it actually looks really pretty at this point, and you could leave the painting just like this. It almost kind of looks like grease to me, so that's kind of interesting. It's got me thinking about a future painting of grease. Anyways, back to the houses here. I'm taking my neon pink now. The fun part for me, adding the color. We're going to color these houses in. The rooftops especially are going to have that beautiful terracotta, bright, pretty colors. You can mix pink with your orange or the yellow, a little bit of white in there. And one or two of the houses I'm going to have a really bright neon pink with my white. So I'm not going to paint in every single house because not every house is going to be in full on color. So I'll leave a few that are kind of off-white, and I'll add a few that are going to be darker, like this roof line. I'm going to add more of my kind of blue, red, greenish mixture, and then go over with a highlight of my neon yellow warm and white. What I do want to add is a little bit of my cadmium yellow cool, a little bit of white, and bring in a really nice golden, happy, sunny color here on a few sides of each house. And then on the front of the house, I'm going to make a cool white tone. So I'll be taking either one of my blues, and preferably you want a light blue violet, but really bright. So more titanium white than cobalt or ultramarine blue for that. And if you guys aren't sure about color mixing, I'm going to show you 99% of how I'm mixing my colors and what I'm using here. But if you want to go in more in depth with color mixing, I've got a video that I'll try to remember to leave the link for below this video. It's all about brush strokes and blending and color mixing. All right, so I ran out of my light ultramarine blue, so I'm going to make one here. I'm going to take white, neon pink, and phthalo blue. This is what I've got on my palette, and I've got quite a bit, so I'd rather just make it here than waste this paint and squeeze out from my tube of paint. So you can see it's really, really light and soft. It's a very, very light velvety shade. Just tinted my white with those two colors, and you get this beautiful it's almost got lavender or lilac-y tone to it, and this is really complementary with all the peach that we've got going on in this painting. So I recommend choosing that, but you're welcome to use any colors. I really don't think you could go wrong with this as long as you've got some pretty colors along with that blue sky and the turquoise water, and of course the lemons. So the Amalfi Coast and Positano are really known for their lemons, lemon trees, and I really wanted to incorporate that here. Quite often you see little terraces and balconies with the lemons hanging down, and I think it just adds so much mood and character to this painting, and it gives you that real Italian feel. So I'm just going to cut in between those lines and dots and dabs that I use for windows, kind of just little lines, little grids. It's so easy to do this, guys, and you'll be surprised how easy it is. I want you guys to leave a comment below after you finish painting this, or a comment below letting me know that you are finding this really helpful and that you want to try painting this one. And of course, I welcome you guys to join my private Facebook group where you can share your versions from my painting tutorials there. It's a wonderful group. It's free, of course, and everybody is welcoming and supportive there. Plus, I love seeing all of your guys' artwork from what you've learned from me. I'm just tapping in a little bit of green gold here, a little bit of white, a little bit of yellow for some trees. Maybe those are lemon trees back there. And gardens, of course. Now with a clean brush, I'm going to take my red, blue, and neon rose, and I'm going to start dabbing a few little dots here for the windows again, making some of these a little bit darker and stand out. And maybe I lost a few of these when I added my highlight in the front. So I'll just be adding a few more of these right over to the right side. A little shadow here using the corner of my brush for some of those trees back there. Just going to enhance the color a little bit in here, adding a touch of that neon orange, pink, or red. Just a very thin layer of this. And it's really nice to use neon paints, especially this brand, because they are luminous, so they're really transparent, and it just kind of enhances and adds like a filter over other colors. Okay, so I'm going to take blue, sap green, a couple of those neon colors, the red, the rose, and make a really dark, deep, rich color for the beginning stages of my lemon tree. So again, like I did below on the bottom left, dancing around with my brush, lifting it up, pushing, tapping, little lines, and just to create easy and simple leaves. I'm going to carry over all the way to the left side or the right side and have it start to get smaller and kind of dangle down just a little bit. But they're going to be, the leaves are going to be, for the most part, the biggest over on the left side. Now that we've got our dark base color for contrast, and without washing my brush, I'm going to take green gold, cadmium yellow cool, and I'm going to start pushing and tapping. This is going to both be leaves, brighter leaves, and the beginning stages of our lemons. So you can use a flat brush or a filbert brush to create your lemons. If you don't have these brushes, I'm pretty sure you probably do, but if you don't, you can definitely use a round brush as well. Okay, a little bit of white with my yellow now, and I'm going to push and almost twist and roll my brush to create our very first lemon. Lemons are so easy, so it's just like an oval, but it kind of comes pointy on either end, and I want you to put them kind of on slightly on different angles, like a little bit diagonal and of course straight up and down. Now they're going to be different sizes, right? And we're not going to be able to see all of every single lemon. That wouldn't make sense and wouldn't be realistic. We're going to have some in and amongst the leaves. So we'll add the lemons now and then come back in during the process of the rest of this painting and eventually add some leaves in and around and over top of part of them. So this is the first stage of the lemons. I'm painting wet on wet, which means I'm picking up a little bit of the dark contrast color. And that's really handy because we're going to have some shadows on these lemons, right? So I don't feel the need to dry the painting off first. That being said, if your paint has dried already, that's okay. You might just have to come in later on and add a little bit of a shadow on the left side or one side of your lemons. So to make the brightest highlighted part of my lemon, I'm going to choose one side and I'm going to take titanium white and my lemon yellow again. I'm also going to add a little bit of my neon yellow warm to give it a really beautiful golden yellow look. So you can change up your yellows here and there, making the lemons have a different tone to them, and the neon yellow warm is a really gorgeous choice. So I don't want them to look like oranges. So make sure that you're using subtle amounts of that, small amounts of that, and for the most part, it's yellow. So you don't want to make it look orange. Even though that neon yellow warm is technically a yellow, it does look orange, but it's a really, really beautiful addition to the cadmium yellow cool. So I'm going to keep going over these, adding a little bit more white where I want them to really stand out. And then I'm going to come around and add some more leaves underneath part of them to make it look more real. A little bit touches of the green gold here and there. If you guys don't have green gold, do you know what? You can make it with the cadmium yellow and a bit of black. Okay, like I mentioned earlier, I'm going to make some leaves now, and I'm taking my dark colors, some of those neon colors with my blue like I did earlier, sap green, and just adding little dabs here for some smaller leaves off in the distance behind these lemons, and a few that are kind of dangling down below. So smaller little dabs, and if you want them to be bigger, then you'll push a little bit harder. I would recommend keeping the bigger leaves up on this side, on the left side, where you can tell that these are a little bit closer to us because the size of the lemons. Okay, so I'm just going to start adding a few more lemons. I'm kind of playing around with seeing how far I want to have my lemon tree dangling down and growing. So I'm going to just try it out, experiment down here and see if I want to have some more lemons. I may keep them, I may not. It's nice for you guys to see what it looks like in case you're wondering too. Then you can decide if you like it or not. I'll add a few more little ones up here and all around to the far right, and then we'll move on to our next step. Okay, so for the next step, guys, I really want to add some more richness, rich color here. So I'm going to take my neon red luminous rose with my blue and create a deep, beautiful purple color down here, which is of course complementary with the yellow, the peach, and the green. So everything, all these colors are working really well. Now I know it's going to dry a bit darker, so I'm going to add just a little bit of white here so that I stay within this tone that I like. And yeah, because the acrylic paint will dry darker, 2 shades. That's all I'm doing, and I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow using this color on a few of the lemons. So again, just picking one side of the lemons for my shadow with a clean brush. I'm going to go back into my turquoise. I'm going to add some more color and tone to the water here, just playing around with my turquoise and then adding a few more highlights here and there. And then we'll start with the next step. With a clean brush, neon orange, neon pink, a little scoop there of each, and I'm going to enhance these flowers, dabbing, not out for making every single petal on these impressionistic like I mentioned earlier. It's just about blocking in and blobs of color here. Very vibrant and pretty. So I'm going to take yellow, white, and those neon colors and add little dots and dabs, pushing for some highlights and some softer tones in and around those lemons as well. And then just add whatever's left in my brush on some of those rooftops. With a clean brush, I'm going to take a little bit of white, a little bit of that blue, purple, just create sort of that light blue violet color again. And I really want to build up these clouds a little bit more, and I'm keeping them diagonal on that angle again like I did earlier because I think it just adds so much to the painting, and I love that. So I'm just pushing and dabbing, creating little circles, and then the remainder of the paint, dry brush over those houses that are far away. So that's building this perspective up even more, right? It's going to put those in the distance because in a painting, in a landscape, you don't want every single thing to be in full focus. And there's a bit of water that goes back there behind those houses. There's more water, so I'm just sneaking in some turquoise there and then a little bit more blue for some of the maybe little islands and mountains back there behind the water. I'm gonna add a few little dabs for windows and a little shadow under that roof line. Just want to make this stand out and look a little bit more solid here. I will be dry brushing over that again later on, but I don't want it to completely disappear. I want to make sure that I've got something there to put in the distance, right? I don't want to get rid of it. So I'm just going to add a little bit of turquoise and phthalo blue here, add a bit of shadow in the water and more depth. Maybe it's a little bit deeper in this area, so the color will be a little bit darker and more blue. Now to blend it out a little bit more evenly, I'm going to use my Filbert brush. I've got a larger Filbert brush here. It was just a bit harder to do and was tending to look a little bit too streaky with my small flat brush. So all I'm doing is kind of just pushing and smushing a little bit of white, turquoise, and blue in here. And I'm going to soften that up a little bit later with some more white and make it look a little bit blurry. So don't worry about spending too much time on this portion of the painting, guys. Back to my turquoise. Just softly making that grid for the shadows and reflections in the water. So brush strokes across and brush strokes up and down. And you can use this water technique, this brush stroke, for any water painting, type of painting that you're doing, as long as it's calm water, of course. I'm going to warm up my shoreline here, the sand and the rocks, just by making that golden color again with my neon yellow warm, a little bit of cad yellow and white. And then pull and flick for a little gentle reflection. And those reflections are coming from the houses above as well as the sand. Now I really want to add, I'm having fun with color and I've got luminous rose left, so I want to make a light mauve color here, or just a light pretty purple color with a bit of my blue, but mostly white and neon rose. So I'm just going to tap, push and tap, just out for creating some more pretty colors here. I don't know what kind of flowers these are. It doesn't matter, guys. Then quickly scoop up some more neon red, maybe some neon orange. I'm using up whatever colors I've got left on my palette. I can't put them back in the tubes, and I know I can have fun and enhance this painting more. Now you guys, definitely feel free to add more colors if you want, more flowers, or less. So it's all up to you, and don't worry guys, it's gonna look pretty no matter what you do, okay? So I want you to not hold back though if you're fearful. That's never a good thing. Only if you prefer to have yours a little bit more subdued. So I'm coming in with the finishing touches for this painting now. I added some soft white, a little bit of pink, thick paint down below after blurring up, and you know how we had that soft and blurry look before underneath. We've still got that, but we've also got a little bit of those flowers standing out as well. I like that combination. And then I just did my tinted dry brush diluted paint, white with tinted with my neon yellow warm over those houses in the distance. Make sure that that's all dry before you go over them. Of course, you don't want to mix everything all up. So I don't think you'll have a problem with your houses being wet anymore, because the paint dries so quickly, doesn't it? And if it doesn't, what I like to do is just have a handy little hair dryer nearby, and that speeds up the time of drying really easily and quickly. So I'm just going to blur this up a little bit more, wiggle around a little bit more color here and there wherever I want. And then what I'm actually going to do is add a few little suggestions of some scroll work. Now this could be, just feels Italian to me. They have the beautiful ornate iron gates and around the windows as well, and terraces. So I just felt like I needed to do it, and I went with that feeling and that urge, and I really like how it turned out. So you can use a little liner brush, a round brush. I started out with a flat, then I think a Filbert, but you can create it with any one of those brushes. You'll have a little bit more control with a smaller brush, but all I'm doing is picking any of those colors, and then if it doesn't stand out, then you're going to take a little bit of white and tint it with those colors and just make a little scroll here and there, sort of just frame in the painting. I think it adds a little bit more whimsy and character to this. So this was really fun to do. I hope you guys enjoyed watching this one today. I want to thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel for more, and check out links below where you can join Patreon, Facebook, Instagram, and Pinterest. Take care everybody, and I'll see you all next time in another video. Bye.